So welcome in everyone. I'll give you a quick overview of the aims for today's session. We are going to look at 5 ways to help you improve your band score for IELTS writing. We're focusing on the Discuss Both Views essay. We're going to look at understanding the question, making sure that you fully understand the question before you start writing, and that will help you to answer all different parts of the question to get a high score for task achievement. We will then look at planning your essay using a simple structure. This will be you paragraphing your essay and getting ideas for your essay. We will look at a very important IELTS skill called paraphrasing. This is expressing the ideas in the question in different ways, using different language. Very important for IELTS writing, also for speaking, and it will help you with reading and listening as well. We will also look at using linking expressions to develop your argument. Very important for coherence and cohesion for your essay. Finally, we'll look at how to avoid some common mistakes with common grammar and vocabulary issues. So this is the aim for today's presentation. We have a very good number of people who have joined us. Welcome in if you've just joined us. Osarogi, hello. Ijachi, welcome in. If you would like to share your answers with other people, you can find this in, if you change your settings to all panelists and attendees. This will let other students see your answers and it will help you to benefit from each other. I can see a question, will the slideshow for this be available? It should be up on our Facebook group next week. Yes, so we will put the recording for this, Fazlin, on the Facebook next week. Okay, Irina, that's a great question. You can put this in the Q&A and we'll discuss it after the presentation. So if you do have general questions about IELTS writing, you can add your questions to the Q&A. You can vote for the questions you would like me to discuss the most, and we'll talk about them after the presentation. So everyone, I think we can get started. We're going to look at Discuss Both Views essay. So here we go. Let's see. The first step is to understand the question. So you open your paper and you'll see a question that looks like this. The first step, of course, is to read the question through. So let's read that together. Some people believe that the activities of large multinational corporations mostly benefit the economies of developing countries. Other people take the opposite view and feel that these large multinationals are generally harmful. Discuss both views and give your opinion. Okay, so this is a typical discuss both views question. We can see that it's about large corporations or companies and if they benefit the economies of developing countries or not. Now, each question in task 2 will have 2 parts. It will have a kind of statement, which is the first part. This is sometimes called a lead-in. And it will have a question or a set of instructions telling you what you need to do with the statement. So here, this part is our lead-in. Some people believe that. And we need to discuss both points of view and give our opinion. So this is a little bit different from other types of essay. With agree, disagree, you'll be given a statement and you have to say whether you agree with it or not. In this one, you're being asked to discuss other people's opinion. So you've got the opinion of other people, two different opinions. You need to discuss them and then give your own opinion, say which one you agree with. So it's important to notice the different question types. Now that we've understood that, we can look at them in a bit more detail. And a good way to do this is to underline the key words. Can you suggest any key words that you would underline in this question? Let me know in the chat what do you think are the key words in this question? Very good, Ahmed. Benefits, multinational corporations, Fazlin, exactly. Very good, Laith. Developing countries, very, very good. You've covered basically all the ones that I've got. So large multinational companies benefit the economies of developing countries. And excellent, Omid. Also, other people think it's harmful. So in this case, it's important that we cover all aspects of the question. We're looking at obviously large multinational companies, companies like Amazon, like Apple. Do they benefit the economies of developing countries? So we're not just talking about the benefits, all the benefits to developing countries. We're talking about the economic benefits. So we need to be focused in our answer on the economy, the economic benefits. This is important that you don't go off task and start answering a different question. Make sure your answer is focused on exactly the words in the question. We also have the second part of the question. We need to discuss both views and we need to give our opinion. So now that we have understood the question, the next step is to think about our overall response. This is our general response to the question. So for this type of essay, the best thing to do is to think of each point of view and think of reasons why why you agree with it or not. So, for example, here we're talking about the benefits of large multinational corporations. What are some of the benefits of large companies to developing countries' economies? Can you make some suggestions in the chat? What do you think? What are the benefits to developing countries? Okay, so a better economy. Arakan, you've said employment, good job opportunities, excellent, more jobs, exactly. These are some of the benefits. Mulith, you've said exploitation. This is not a benefit. It might be true, but this would be a harmful factor. So we'll discuss that in the next point. Very good, improve the supply chain and logistics, better facilities, increase the GDP. These are all good reasons. Globalization is a bit too general, Binju. Globalization could be a benefit. It could also be a drawback. So we need to be specific. Better factories, Mosa, very good. Better services, excellent. These are all benefits to, very good, Irina, increasing life standard, quality of life. Yeah, that would be great. So here I've chosen one main benefit. I've said that it creates jobs. As many of you mentioned, large multinational companies create jobs. And a result of that is that the wages are improved. So I've got a benefit and the effect of the benefit. Now, what about the harmful effects of multinational companies? Can you think of any negative effects? Very good, so Krish. It can be if there's a monopoly. Jennifer, local businesses might close. Excellent. Yep, lack of national products. There might be air pollution. That's good, Afrin. Air pollution is a drawback. Is it directly related to the economy, though? We're thinking about the effect specifically on the economy. So it's important to be to remember to directly answer the question. Although it does say large multinationals are generally harmful. So actually the question could be more not just about the economy for the drawbacks. Very good. Inflation, a lack of society, an increase in the product prices. These are all excellent. I've gone with one of the common ones you mentioned. Multinational companies threaten local business. The impact of that, local businesses close down. So in general terms, you can think of reasons for one view and reasons for the other view. That's the first part of the question. But remember, we also need to give our opinion. So what do you think? Do you think they are mostly beneficial or they're mostly harmful? Which one what's your opinion on this? Yep, Izan, mostly beneficial, mostly harmful. Lots of people saying beneficial. That's fine. My own opinion is that yes, there's lots of drawbacks. There are lots of harmful factors, but probably overall for the economy, they are beneficial. Remember, you're not being scored on your opinion. There is no correct or incorrect opinion. It's just about how clearly you can express your opinion. So as long as you have a good reason to support your opinion and you express it clearly, you'll be fine. And so Krishran, it's a good point. It depends. It depends, right? There are both. Now, life is very complicated, as you know. Some of these issues do not have easy, simple solutions that are black and white. But saying that, for your writing, it's easier if you make them simple. If you can just choose, say, I believe this because, simple. If you try to say, well, it depends, there's some good and there's some bad, and it's very easy to confuse the examiner, and you might lose marks for that. It's more difficult to be clear. So my suggestion is to choose a very simple, clear point of view. In this case, there are benefits and drawbacks, but I believe overall it's beneficial. Okay, so you've decided you've understood the question. You have gotten some main ideas for each side. One clear point and its effect. Let's look now at a structure that you can use to plan your answer. So any task 2 essay will have 4 parts, 4 paragraphs. We'll begin with an introduction. The introduction will have 2 parts. Often 2 sentences is enough. The first part of your introduction, you need to restate the question. You need to express it in your own words to introduce the topic of your essay. What's the missing word here? Can anyone guess? A way of rewriting the question to introduce the topic of the essay. Exactly, Gozda and Amal, it's paraphrasing. This is called paraphrasing. You rewrite the question in your own words to introduce the topic. We'll look at this in more detail in a moment. The second part of the introduction is something called an outline statement. This tells the examiner the 2 points you're going to discuss and also your opinion as well. So this is where you answer the question in a very simple way. Yeah, you can say whether you agree or disagree. That's a really good question, Amal. Is the outline similar to a thesis statement? Yes, essentially they are very similar. The thesis statement makes your opinion very, very clear directly. It's like, this is my argument. The thesis is your point of view. The outline is more like, Godze, what you've said, this essay will discuss. I will talk about this, and I will talk about this, then I'll tell you my opinion. So it's not so direct. It's saying, this is what I will discuss in the essay. Typically, discuss both views can be an outline statement, advantage, disadvantage, problem, solution, outline statement. An agree, disagree, or a direct question is more likely to be a thesis statement because you'll give your opinion first. The neutral statement, it's possible, Susanna, you could just say, I will talk about this, and then in the conclusion, you could give your opinion. That would be okay as well. For me, I think the question asks you to discuss both views and give your opinion. So it's quite nice if you can tell the examiner that at the beginning. It makes it very clear from the start where your essay is going. But it's not wrong. If you put the conclusion at the opinion at the end, that's fine as well. Okay. Yes, the outline can be for both sides, exactly. And we'll look at this in a moment. So this is your introduction. We'll then use a similar structure for your 2 body paragraphs. We'll call them body paragraph A, body paragraph B. The first thing we need at the start of any good paragraph is the sentence. It tells the main point of the paragraph, exactly your topic sentence. We will then explain the topic sentence, explain the main point. Next, to support the explanation, very good, Godze, will give an example. So we can follow this structure for each body paragraph. Sai Krishan, is it good to give 2 ideas or 1 ideas? Very good question. If I don't answer that during the presentation, could you put it in the Q&A so that we can discuss after the presentation? That's a really good question. And can this method be applied to every essay? This basic structure can, Afrin. The exact language you use will be slightly different, but this structure is very versatile. You can use it for a range of different essay types. Finally, we will have a conclusion. In our conclusion, we will do something to both viewpoints. What do we need to do to give? We need to outline them is one way. We could summarize them, restate them. We need to say them in a brief, simple way. Here are the 2 viewpoints, and we need to give our opinion. to make this very clear. Very good, Amal. Exactly, and we need to say the same without giving any new ideas. The conclusion is not where you want to introduce new ideas, you're just repeating. And in fact, the summarizing both viewpoints is basically the same as your outline statement. You're just repeating the main point that you told the examiner at the beginning. Essentially, you tell the examiner, here are my main points. This is what I'm going to talk about in the introduction. In the body paragraph, you develop each of those main points. And in the conclusion, you rephrase, you paraphrase those main points again. It is absolutely fine to repeat, Nada. That makes it very clear for the examiner. And we'll go through how you can do this in a moment. Good question, Parvathy. What if you don't know any examples? If you could put this in the Q&A, we'll discuss it after the presentation. So here we have our structure. Let's look now at writing the introduction. So we have we mentioned that the introduction should have two parts. We need to paraphrase the statement, this lead-in statement, write it in our own words to introduce the topic of our essay. So here we've got, some people believe that the activities of large multinational corporations mostly benefit the economies of developing countries. Now, there are four main techniques for paraphrasing. One of them is changing the voice, the grammar of the sentence. So, for example, in this statement, it says, some people believe that. Some people believe that. This is an active sentence. The people are the subject. They're doing something. They are believing. In academic English, we can make this sentence passive. We'll look at this in a moment. You can also use synonyms. Very good, Sekrish. Synonyms, words with the same meaning, different words that have the same meaning. You can also change the word form. So you can change a word from a noun to an adjective, or from a noun to a verb. So using the same word, but a different form of the word. Finally, you can just simply change the word order, rewrite the sentence, changing the order of the words. And often you can do this with a relative clause, which is, which are. So, very nice, Susanna. It is believed that multinational companies are very beneficial to developing countries' economy. Excellent. So you've used the passive form there. Instead of saying it is, some people believe, you've said it is believed. Now this is good to make it more, not just one person, but many people believe. You could say it is often. Excuse me. You can say it's often believed. Here I've used argued. It is often argued that. Very good. It is often believed that. Another option, it is widely believed that. And can you think of another verb that could go here? It is commonly, while some people think, good, advocated, assumed, it is well known that, yep, very good. Maintained that, excellent. Considered is a little different, Omid. Considered doesn't fit here. It is often thought that, very good. Realized, not quite right here. Here I've used suggested. Suggested is good. So, Fazlin, you don't want to say I strongly believe yet, because right now you're introducing the other people's point of view. You're introducing views for other people. So I would choose one of these forms, one of these passive forms. Harper, people are in dispute over that is okay, but a simpler, clearer way is to use one of these structures. Often argued that, widely believed that it's a passive form. Debated doesn't fit here so well, Yen. I wouldn't use debated. So we'll choose one. I've said it is often argued that the activities. Here, I want to use a synonym for activities. We could say it is often argued that instead of activities, what other word could I use? The business, very good. Yep, is close. Here I've used the tasks, is okay. Here I've said the actions of, and instead of saying large, here we're all using operations, very good. Big, huge, excellent. I've used huge. Instead of multinational, very good. Enormous, giant, yep, major. What about multinationals? Instead of saying multinational, international, excellent. Global, very, very good. Huge global corporations. Instead of saying corporations, I've used companies, exactly. These are all synonyms. Benefit, another word for benefit. Advantage is good, but it's a noun. So we want to use a verb like benefit. Pros, aid. Aid could work. Take advantage of has a different meaning, Ashley, to benefit. Increase, good. Grow, yeah, make a positive impact, very good. Here I've just used the word help. Yeah, help. Very simple, but very good, Shella, exactly. So the actions of huge global companies help the economies of developing countries. Instead of saying countries, we could say, excellent, Arakan, we could say nations. Okay, so these are all using synonyms. How can we do this with word form? So here's another example of paraphrasing. It's widely believed that multinational corporations are, now instead of saying benefit, I could say, excellent, Godze, we can say beneficial, exactly. Beneficial to the economies of developing countries. This, using the same word, but a different form. Ooh, I like it, advantageous, good. That's also changing the form, excellent. Now, fourth and final way is changing the word order. So in our last example, we can say it is commonly suggested that, and here, large multinational corporations. Can you think of a way to use the same words, but in a different order? Maybe using a relative clause. So companies or corporations. which are good. In which, yep, that could work. Ashley, IELTS lover. I've just seen your full name. Very nice username there, Ashley. Excellent. It is commonly suggested that, very good, Omid, companies which are multinational. Okay, we've used the same words. We've used the relative clause to change the order. And mostly benefit, instead of saying the economies of developing countries, we can say similar change, countries with developing economies. Exactly. So these are 4 different ways of paraphrasing. Now, ideally, you want to use a mixture of them. So you can see in this example, I've used the passive. It is often argued that. I've used synonyms. The actions of huge global companies are beneficial, the word form, to countries with developing economies, the word order. So it's good to use a mixture. It's also important that you don't go too crazy with paraphrasing. It's important that you use accurate language, accurate word choice. So try to stick with what you know in the exam. It's better to use simple, clear vocabulary than to use very flowery, complex, but not quite right vocabulary. This will, if you use inappropriate word choice, it can actually affect your score for task achievement, for coherence and cohesion, as well as your language, as well as your vocabulary. That's a good question, Fazlin. If you're targeting band 8, one of the criteria for vocabulary are sustained use of more complex forms. For a band 8 in vocabulary, you would need to use some fairly high level vocabulary consistently. But again, if you use it inappropriately, that will reduce your score. So, you can still get an 8 overall by focusing on task achievement, focusing on grammar, coherence and cohesion. And if you get a 7 for vocabulary by using simple, clear vocabulary, you'll still be able to get a band 8 overall. So, yes, you should be aiming, basically, you should be going at the highest range you can do accurately. But if you're not sure, stick to a simpler word, or instead of using a different word, change the form or change the word order. That way you'll still benefit from paraphrasing without using unknown words, okay? That would be my advice there. Now, let's push on with the rest of this. We need to say other people take the opposite view. Here, we're saying it's an opposite, so we'll say while others believe that, okay? Others believe that these large multinationals are generally harmful. So here I've said these companies have a negative effect. So again, changing the word form, harmful, a negative effect. So here is our paraphrase. You could also use whereas, that's fine as well. Now we need to give our outline statement. Meanwhile is okay, Amal, but meanwhile kind of means at the same time. And you're not really talking about, the focus is not on time. However is okay as well. However would be fine, whereas also fine. The outline statement, we want to introduce, make it very clear, In my opinion, I believe that, and we want to show both sides. So I believe that multinationals have some harmful effects, but they benefit the countries in which they do business. Aizan, you can definitely give your opinion at the beginning. That's fine. Now, I'm saying, yes, there are some harmful impacts, but my opinion is that they benefit the countries. Very good, Parvati. So I'm saying, although multinationals have some harmful impacts, overall, they benefit the countries in which they do business. So this structure lets me introduce the opposite point of view, one point of view, but then also give my opinion. I'm discussing both sides. So yes, spelling flaws will be penalized, Moluth. Unfortunately, that will be part of vocabulary rather than grammar. So yet instead of but, yet would be okay, nada as well. So this is a very clear outline statement showing that I will discuss both views, okay? Now, if you have questions about the introduction, please put them in the Q&A. We're going to push on to the body paragraphs. So our first body paragraph, we're going to talk about the benefits, okay? The one point of view that they're beneficial. We've said that multinationals create jobs and they improve wages. So we need, first of all, a topic sentence. And we can introduce our topic sentence. Well, here's a basic topic sentence. Multinationals have a generally positive effect on the economies of developing countries. Okay? This is a simple topic sentence, and it's fine. Here is a nice way to improve your topic sentence. A growing body of research suggests that. This is a nice way to make your writing sound more academic. Okay, if you're saying it's not just my opinion, but it's based on research. A growing body of research suggests that. First point, okay? We can then give our main point. What's the main benefit we want to talk about? We've said one key benefit is that international investment can help to create job opportunities for local people. So we've introduced the main point of our essay, of our paragraph. Okay. We then want to explain this benefit, right? This is our next part of our paragraph. And one way to do that is to use a phrase like this can lead to. So you can say this can lead to an increase in wages, right? This is the positive impact of this benefit. We can then support our explanation with an example. So in this case, I've said, taking Turkey as an example. I don't know if we have any students from Turkey in the chat. Please say hello. I've used Turkey as an example here. Hello, Godze, welcome. So this is an example. You can tell me if it's accurate or not. Employees of multinational companies earn around 15% more than staff of local companies. Okay, this was a quick, this was a quick Google that I did to find out this statistic. Obviously, in the test, you won't be able to Google this, and that's fine. You can invent the example. And this was a question one of our students asked earlier. And that's a very good question, Jennifer. Will the examiner check if we're saying facts? No, absolutely not. Nada, statistics can be from your imagination. That's absolutely fine. You could say, taking Turkey as an example, employees of multinational companies earn 20%, 15%, 40%. As long as it sounds logical, that's fine, okay? Exactly, Godza. I don't know whether it's true or not, but it sounds logical. That's all that matters in the test. You're not being tested on your general knowledge, just you can create examples. It's better to use examples that are general about your country, about famous companies. It's better not to say, you know, for example, I make 15% more than, you know, other employees. And it's better not to use a personal example. That's not a feature of academic writing. But you can generalize about your country, people in general, that's fine. Okay, so we've got our topic sentence, we've explained, and we've got an example. Yep, Izan, you can give a survey which never happened. I wouldn't be too specific. I wouldn't say, you know, according to the New York Times survey of December 2015. Just say, according to a recent survey is fine. According to a recent survey. How many examples? One example is fine. You don't need to provide more, okay? And you probably won't have space for more. Right, so let's see. Before we move on, let's focus on our linking expressions, right? We've got a growing body of research suggests that. This is the topic sentence. One key benefit, specific information. This can lead to explain. And then the example, taking X as an example. We have some verb forms here. We're using the present simple to say it's happening now, it's true, general fact. We've got can help. This is nice, and this can lead. This verb, the modal verb can, is a very nice expression to use because it makes your writing sound more academic. You're not saying international investment helps create jobs. Not always true, but it can do. It's possible. It's a possible effect. This is nice sort of hedging language, it's called, rather than being it always helps. We also have some nice vocabulary here as well. That's a good question, Godze. Could we use could or would? In this case, I would say no. Use can or might, because you're talking about a real effect in the world. You're not talking about a hypothetical. If we did this, then it could, right? You're talking about now in the real world, international investment can help people. So it's a real effect of an action happening now. Okay. The presentation will be up on our Facebook page next week, Halle. I'll put the link to that in the chat in a moment. If anyone has the link to our Facebook page, please feel free to put that in the chat for Halle. Would is not acceptable. Could is okay. Internet could help create jobs. Again, it's not quite right, because could and would are talking about possible unlikely effects. If you didn't, it's if you imagine a change, but we're not talking about imagining. We're talking about a real effect now. For a real effect, use can. Okay. So let me, if anyone has our Facebook page link, if you could put it in the chat. If not, wait, and I'll give it to you at the end of the presentation. For now, we're going to move through. We've got vocabulary, generally positive effect, international investment, create job opportunities, and the staff of local companies. So some nice collocations there. So this is a very clear first body paragraph. Moving on to our second body paragraph, we're talking about the harmful effects of multinational companies. We're going to focus on one. Thank you so much, Arina. That's perfect. You can see our Facebook page in the chat there. I'll just share that with everyone. There you go. That's our Facebook page. You can see recordings of our previous webinars on there. So we need a topic sentence. We are contrasting the positive effects with the harmful effects. So it's good to use a contrasting expression. You can say, however, on the other hand, to show that you're changing from positive to negative. However, there are also negative impacts which must be considered. Yeah, nevertheless would be fine, Amal. Very good. So let's think about the negative impacts. Yeah, on the contrary would be fine. One important issue is that multinational companies can take customers from local companies. Okay, that's our main topic for this paragraph. We then need to explain this point of view, explain this point. So we can say, this means that, okay? This means that. Having said that is good, Ashley, as well. In spite of the positive effects, there are also negative effects. That would be fine. This means that some local businesses are likely to close down, okay? Explaining the main point. We can then give an example of this. And here I've used for instance, instead of saying taking or for example. Global chains such as, what are some multinational companies you can think of? For example, we have different, Apple, yep, IBM, very good, Target and Amazon. Here I've gone for food, KFC, very good, Mulith, McDonald's and Coca-Cola have a much larger budget for advertising, okay? Allowing them to increase their market share at the expense of local restaurants. So here, just focusing on food. So we have again, topic sentence to explain and an example. Very good, Amal, to be precise. To be precise would be okay. I think you still want a cause. So you want to say, to be precise, this means that, okay, to show that you're explaining. So I would use both together. Taking a look at the linking expressions, you can see, however, to introduce the contrast, one important issue to introduce the main point. This means that for instance, and such as, for example. We also have similar verb forms here. There are, now. There are some negative impacts in the real world now. And I've used the passive form, which must be considered. This is a nice, to show the examiner you have control, the passive modal present. Very nice language. Again, can take, to show possibility. Are likely to close down. This is talking about a likely future situation again. Here we're talking have, to say it's happening now. And the additional information with ing, allowing them to increase after the main verb. Okay. Finally, we have some nice vocabulary, global chains, a much larger budget, and market share. This is nice vocabulary to describe business, international business. Okay, so that's our second paragraph. We can wrap up with our conclusion now. And we have, in our conclusion, we're simply summarizing our main points and both views. We start with in conclusion to make it very clear. And again, I'm presenting both points of view. I wouldn't use however in the conclusion, Izan. To conclude or to sum up is fine. In one word, not quite right, Zeng. I would stick with in conclusion, to conclude, or to sum up will be fine. Tendency to is not quite right, Yen, because we're talking about the future rather than right now. So, well, maybe you could use it actually, because it's an effect now. So yes, you could say have a tendency to. Okay, so while multinationals can benefit developing countries through creating jobs, they can also threaten small businesses. Okay, so I've summarized my two main points. They can benefit developing countries from jobs, but they also threaten small businesses. In my opinion, because we need to give our opinion to make it very clear, despite having some negative effects, I believe multinational corporations are generally beneficial and overall would be fine. Yeah, so here is a simple conclusion as well. Yeah, personally, I tend to agree would be okay as well. But it's nice to be able to show both sides. So using the linking expression while this, they also that. Despite some negative effects, they are generally beneficial. This is very useful language to show both sides of the argument while still giving your point of view. Okay. Yep, you could say I strongly believe here. So that is the end of my presentation, guys. So thank you very much. I hope you found this useful. We won't have time to do this part, I'm afraid. Maybe in a future situation. But let me see. So we have some time now to discuss your questions. So please feel free to ask me any questions you like. We have a few questions to get to in the Q&A. We have some questions already in the chat. So thank you very much for your feedback. Thank you, Jennifer. We have another webinar on Thursday at 5 p.m. UK time. And we have another webinar at the same time next week as well. If you check out our website at the links I've just put here, you can see under the webinar link, this has all the details for our future webinars. We're now offering many more than one. We used to do once a week. Now we're going to twice a week. So you'll see different presenters, different topics. All the details are on our webinar there. So we have our Facebook page will be up there as well. And all our webinars should be on there as well. I will make sure they're updated. Now, we've got a few moments to ask some of your questions. Let's take a look. So we have a question here from Saikrish. What if I remember the structure and present in exams? Is it going to decrease my band as it follows a format? So, Saikrish, if you follow this structure, this will increase your score. You do not need to invent a new structure every time you write an essay. Stick with a simple, clear structure like the one we've talked about in this session, okay? Question from K. Niraj. How do idioms and expressions impact the essay writing? Very good question, Niraj. If you use idioms and expressions accurately, they are likely to improve your score. If you use them inaccurately or inappropriately, so you use a informal idiom, then that's going to decrease your score. So it's important to, there are some idioms that are appropriate for the speaking test that wouldn't be appropriate for the writing test. So it's important when you're studying to note, is it a formal idiom? Is it suitable for academic writing? Or is it informal, suitable for speaking? That would be my advice there. Yes, the word limit for this task, Magresh, is 250 minimum. I think this essay was about 270. Between 250 to 280 is absolutely fine. And this essay would be a band 9, J09106I. This would be about a band 9 score. It's clear, it fully answers the task, it's logical, the grammar is accurate, there's a nice range of high-level vocabulary, so that would be a band 9 overall. Okay, question from Arakan. I would like to know if in this type of essay, do we have to agree with one of the opposite views, or is it possible for us to express a third point of view for the matter? That's a good question. I think it does say, what is your view? You could say, well, in my opinion, I disagree with both of these views, and what I believe is this. That's possible. However, the language you will need to do that is more complex. So it's probably easier to stick with one of the original views in the question, or say, I agree with this view, however, I think this, it's mostly beneficial, but there are also some drawbacks, okay? So a similar question from Saikrishan. Is it good to give 2 ideas or 1 idea in one side? For this type of essay, Saikrish, you should only have 1 main idea per paragraph for each side. If you have 1 idea with an explanation and an example, that will be more than enough words for 1 body paragraph. I did try, when I was writing this example answer, to include 2 main ideas in each paragraph. But if you do that, you end up having to write a huge amount and you go over the word limit. It's just far too much for one paragraph. It's better to have one topic sentence, one main idea, one explanation, and one example that develops the idea very clearly than having a short amount on many ideas. I am from Scotland, Amal, in the UK. So welcome. Right. Yes, sorry, you guys. You have a nice chat. So, Izan, how do we provide examples? Sorry, guys. I'm looking at the chat. I'm looking at the Q&A. There's a lot to think about at the moment. So, Izan, how do we provide examples like discussing a survey or making up your own? So you can say that, yeah, as we discussed, you can say according to a recent survey or a growing body of research suggests that will be fine. Somesh, can we have a question statement followed by our answer statement? I'm not quite sure the question here, Somesh, so I'm going to leave this one for now. Bablu, if I'm not familiar with the given topic, what should I do? Very good question. You can do some preparation, some reading. If you do the reading for the IELTS academic test, this will have a lot of information about common IELTS topics. That will hopefully give you some ideas. You can read news articles, you can watch documentaries. I would suggest brainstorming some opinions on different topics as well. There are, things like education, family, business, the environment, health, sports. All of these things come up. They're always familiar topics. It's not going to ask you something that you have no idea about. It's not specialist knowledge. Think about it and give a common sense answer. Okay, so I don't know anything about international business, but I'm guessing it creates jobs, and I'm guessing that but it can also damage local businesses. Okay, you don't need to be an economics expert to answer this type of question, but it's good to have some ideas ready before you go into the test. So some questions here. If you will just briefly mention our speaking and writing evaluation service. You can see the link on the slide here. This is to our premium service. If you're interested in that, you can book some time with an examiner to go through the speaking test. You can also send in your writing, and a writing examiner will review it and give you very detailed feedback on your strengths and weaknesses. You'll get a full report as well. So that's an option for you if you would like to help improve your speaking or your writing. That's available via our website. Okay, I think we have time for one or two more questions, and then we're gonna need to wrap this presentation up. So let's see. Omid, more webinars on the reading part. There will be more available. They'll be on our website soon. Nada, your exam is on June the 1st. What advice do I have for you? You can check out the previous webinars that are available on our Facebook page. You can go onto our IELTSonlinetest.com website and go through some of the practice tasks. I would just suggest practicing with a range of different questions. If possible, try to get some feedback on your performance as well. It can really help you to improve your score. Okay, guys. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for today. So thank you so much for joining us. It's been a lot of fun presenting with you. So thank you for all your answers and your questions. We We'll be having another webinar on Thursday this week, and we'll have another webinar next Monday. So I hope some of you can join us for that. If you would like to make any suggestions or leave feedback, please go to our Facebook page. We're always happy to hear from you. So if you're having your test as well before then, best of luck to you. I'm sure you'll be great. So thank you very much, everyone, and hope to see you again soon. Cool. Thank you. Bye, guys. Bye for now.